Hey guys, good morning. So today we are going to be talking about batching and mega batching. Anna from Classy Career Girls says you should batch like your life depends on it, and I 100% agree. I think batching and mega batching will revolutionize your life. An article from Michael Hyatt says that batching is simply a form of time management that allows a person to maximize concentration and decrease distraction. As a result, it increases your productivity, your creativity, and mental sharpness while decreasing fatigue, procrastination, and stress. Batch processing is the grouping of similar tasks that requires similar resources in order to streamline their completion. So basically, by grouping together similar tasks, you minimize the amount of decision making time that you're doing, your thinking time, and your actual doing time. So first, I'm going to talk about mega batching. Now, Anna from Classy Career Girl, she likes to categorize her time into three areas: focus time, administrative time, and sacred time. Michael Hyatt has a similar categorization that he talks about in his full to focus planner. He talks about front stage time, backstage time, and off stage time. And he recommends, so front stage time is time that you're on, that maybe you're speaking or that you're in meetings or that you're presenting. Backstage time is when you're preparing for the stuff when you're going to be on. And then off stage time is when you're totally off the grid of work and you're just relaxing, you're resting, you're doing your hobbies. Generally, this is people's weekend times. So, what another way of mega batching, Amy Porterfield talks about putting all similar things in 1 week. So Amy Porterfield mega batches her podcast. She has a really well-known podcast, and so 1 week out of the month she does all of her podcasts for that entire month, and she does all the planning and then all the recording and interviewing for the whole month for all of those podcasts in 1 week. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed by the concept of mega batching. I'm just throwing this out there if you've never heard of this idea for you to think about. I'm not sure that mega batching is always super achievable for moms, mompreneurs, work at home moms, stay at home moms, or for people that don't control their own schedule. So, which is a lot of us. But I'm just throwing this out there because I believe sometimes you just have to be exposed to an idea and just let your brain marinate on that idea. How can you, in this season of life, incorporate mega batching into your life? And just think about it. And 9 times out of 10, at some point when you're in the shower, or when you wake up, your brain will come up with an idea of, "Ooh, I could utilize that strategy of mega batching here in my life." Okay, so that's the idea of mega batching. And then batching is similar, but just on a little bit of a smaller scale. So often when people talk about batching in regards to work, like, business type work, they'll often also talk about time blocking. And there's a method called the Pomodoro method. And in that method, it's recommended, I talked about this in one of my planners. I think it was the productivity planner. You just estimate, you say, I'm going to block off this amount of time, and so you're going to work on a similar group of tasks for this amount of time. And then if you want to incorporate the Pomodoro method, you can, and that's just saying, I'm going to estimate that it's going to take 4 bubbles, and each bubble represents 25 minutes. And then you set a timer. This is really important. You set a timer, and I will put in my notes a timer that I really love to use. It's for kids, but it shows this red area. Anyway, it's great. So you set a timer of some sort, and then and then when the timer goes off, you just have to be done with that batch of assigned work. This has been so helpful in my life. So I'm going to just give you a few examples of different things that I batch in regards to work. So I batch when I look at emails, when I open up my inbox. I recommended getting to the goal of just looking at your emails just 3 times a day. Now that I'm using Inbox Pause, I will often only look at my emails 1 or 2 times a day. It just depends what season I'm in, what projects I'm working on. But if you use Inbox Pause, then I do think it's quite achievable to batch when you actually check your email. And that is something that is going to big time increase your productivity. I batch all of my meetings in the afternoon because that's sort of my trough time. So I batch all meetings in the afternoon. I try to batch content creation in the morning. So block out maybe 2 hours of time in the morning when I'm freshest at that peak time. That's when I batch that. Some other things is one time a month, usually at the very end of the month or the very beginning of the month, I will batch our planning for the next 2 to 3 months out. So I'll look week by week at the calendar. We have a standing, the way my husband and I do it, we have a standing date night the first and third Friday of the month, and a standing Hunter Joy night second and fourth Friday of the month. So we have standing babysitters for those Fridays. So I'll look 8 to 12 weeks out at every Friday and see if we have plans for that, make sure that we have sitters for that, and then I'll look week by week and make sure that I have babysitters or childcare for whatever we need, or if I don't have somebody committed for my joy night, or if we don't have plans for a date night, I'll work on doing that. But I batch all of that. I mentioned I'm part of a babysitting co-op, so I'll put out all these babysitting co-op requests. So I batch my planning for 2 months out at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. I batch buying gifts. So I go to a big consignment sale twice a year, and I buy in September, I buy all my kids' Christmas gifts usually, and families' Christmas gifts. At that consignment sale, the one in March, I buy their Easter gifts, and I also buy like all their friends' birthday presents. And then we just have a birthday present bin, and I have like a bulk supply of tissue paper and gift bags and cards, and then so I just batch that. We do all of our holiday shopping usually on Cyber Monday, because you guys know I don't believe in leaving the house for pretty much anything. So I batch all of our holiday shopping usually on Cyber Monday, and I try to get it all done that day. As far as in the domestic world, this really, for me, I think is where moms can really get ahead, or even non-moms. But I do my laundry 1 day a week. That day changes depending on the season of life we're in. At the moment, it's a Saturday. I batch our groceries and our meal planning. So we do Peapod. So every Friday afternoon, I put in my order for Peapod, and then every Saturday morning, I just have my VA every Saturday. Oh, hey, Barbara. Every Saturday, I have my VA schedule a Peapod delivery for Saturday morning. And then when I do that Peapod order on Friday, I batch my meal planning for that whole week. So I think about it once. Just that concept of touch it once is it kind of leads into this idea of batching and mega batching, because you only want to think about it once. So on Friday afternoons, I think about, and I put in our Google Cal so my husband and I know what we're going to have for dinner every night. I make sure we have all those ingredients in the order. It arrives Saturday morning, and then I don't have to think about what we're having for meals for the rest of the week. I just thought about it once, and it's done. I did my grocery shopping once, and it's done. I go to Costco only 3 or 4 times a year. We're a family of 6. I go to Costco 3 or 4 times a year, and it is a very, very expensive order. And it's a big deal. I take the pickup truck, but I only go to Costco 3 or 4 times a year, and that's the only time I go to a grocery store, usually the whole year. There are lots of things in the kitchen as far as food that you can batch. You can batch making meals. I usually always make a double meal. I batch making our protein shakes, juicing lemons, fixing lunches. I have these little like snack containers. I'll make 10 salads at a time. And I'm working on some YouTube videos that I'm going to try to upload so that you guys can look at in the future here, maybe in the next special day, in the next few days. Next week I'm going to talk about the importance of special time with your children. It's the number one parenting tool that I could recommend. So I do 10 minutes of special time with each kid, and I batch that because it's kind of hard for me to get into that mind frame of special time. So I just do it back to back to back with each of my kids. I'm in that special time mode. I am not working. I'm not thinking about work. I'm just thinking about them, and I batch them. So it's also just that idea of getting into that mode of thinking and knocking everything out that you can.